Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Superpower of Confidence podcast, a podcast where we talk about true confidence and not arrogance. Our vision of confidence is one that is humble and self-loving. We talk about confidence in oneself, in the world, in the future, etc. Our guest today has the comedy career that people like me really look up to. So that's why I'm a little bit both intimidated but also very excited to welcome on this podcast Rob Spence.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Rob.
Hi.
So thank you so much for joining the podcast.
You don't have to be intimidated, that's a self-worth thing you have to get over. Because I'm a very relaxed guy. I'm not going to hurt you at all.
There you go. But we get right into the topic.
Right in the topic, yeah. Don't fuck around with this, If you're showing me your lack of self-confidence from the start, so.
No, but you're going to be very kind with me.
Well, I've learned this in show business a lot of the time. The people who I really respect and I really look up to, there's no need to have any fear or nervousness around those sort of people because they're caring people. And they don't expect anything, and they just want to support,
Right.
It's like when you go on a show and you're afraid the audience is going to hate you, but they're there, they paid the money to come and see you. They're there happy to see you. So
Right.
It's the same thing I've noticed with people who really got a lot of talent or they've done really well. They're really giving and really caring about other people. I don't know,
So I guess this is good because we're already skipping to the third question.
Well, okay, yeah.
No, but this is awesome. But before we do this, actually, so Rob, can you just quickly explain what you do?
Well, I'm a comedian without borders. One is I do comedy of all sorts. I don't just do stand-up comedians like most people these days. I do physical comedy, I do clowning, I do dance, I sing, I do acrobatics, do magic. And I don't just do it in one place, I do it all over the world. I can do my shows in 4 different languages, but I can also do physical, visual shows for people who don't speak at all. I can perform in China and do an hour show and people understand the show.
That's amazing. So that's why I think the breadth of all the things that you've done, that's why you're such a complete comedic performer, and that's why a lot of people look up to what you've done. And I've met you right at the moment when I was quitting my job and in a transition. And I can't believe I'm going to say this as a skeptic, as a French skeptic, but maybe the universe gives you thing that you wish for when you give it some sign, a little bit of help.
Absolutely. I'm seeing it so much at the moment with people who are changing directions, and if it's the right direction, then you'll know.
You get some signs.
Signs will happen straight away. Things you'll pick, boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, things will fall into place once you've drawn the line in concrete, not in sand. If you do it in sand, it washes away very quickly. But you draw in concrete and say, I'm going this direction, you make the decision and you go, then things will just fall into place like out of magic, magically.
It was
magically.
crazy.
That is true magic. That's when magic happens.
Yeah.
You make a decision, you go, so I'm going against the odds, I'm going against what everyone tells me, my family, my friends, everyone tells me, but I'm doing it because I believe in it, I believe in myself. And then when you take the step, this is the most difficult thing because it's like a river. You've got this water coming towards you and you make that decision and you jump in the water and you start to swim. And you'll swim for a little while, but then, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 5 months later, you're tired. And you're saying, and this is what's the problem with most people when they become entrepreneurs or they try something. They jump into the river and the river is way too strong for them. They're not equipped to swim in that river, and that's why they pull out and they lose a lot of money and they go back to working a normal job again and give up. But the idea is to equip yourself for that river, knowing what it's going to be and know that it's going to be tough, and mentally equip yourself to get into that, and then you can swim and overcome that current. And what happens is as you're fighting that current, people are throwing you food and strength and stuff and resources, you know, to get through it. But it's that
All
very most difficult thing.
Let's hope I am swimming with the flow now. In this new
Well,
decision.
you just jumped into the river.
Yeah, I just jumped.
You know, and even straight away you go, oh, this is fucking hard. But you just have to trust.
No, I don't think it's actually right now. I just think it's scary. It's not so hard, but it's scary.
Yeah, scary. Yeah.
But you know, one of the things that so since you've entered my life, we've had a few conversations, and one of the things that has really inspired me to be a comedian when I was a kid was watching this TV show in France called La Classe.
Yeah.
And then I learned you've been on it. You've been on a few episodes. So you were one of the people who I didn't even know who inspired me.
Probably. It was probably that episode when I was on La Classe. You went, I want to be like that guy.
It was you and Lagaffe.
Lagaffe.
That's for the French listeners.
Yeah. The funniest man in France.
But anyway, but also, you know, I wanted to have you on the podcast because I thought, okay, somebody like you who's done and who continues to do everything that is possible in comedy, it's not possible that you've ever struggled with confidence or that. And then some of the things that you've told me, I was like, oh my God, how can Rob Spence go through these moments? And so that's kind of what I wanted to have you on this.
It's quite an eye opener. And it's like I have my role models of confidence, and one of my role models of confidence is Marco Rima, a Swiss comedian.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, because I just see him as an amazing, confident guy. And I spoke with him about it the other day, and he said, "No, I don't. No, really not. No, it's bullshit.
Really?
It looks like I have confidence." And I'm like, "Because it looks like you're improvising a lot." And he says, "No. It looks like I'm improvising a lot. It's, you know, it's worked out and it's thought out, and then I do it, but it looks very spontaneous."
Yeah.
He said, "Because I don't have the balls to do it live."
To improv.
To improv, that kind of improv. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, you've you know, opened my eyes. I'm maybe more self-confident than what I thought. Maybe you should use me as a role model now.
Maybe you should come on this podcast.
Maybe, yeah, you should have him.
So very early when you jumped into the conversation, you said, so comedians or people in show business that you respect, they come on stage and they're there to give. Is this what confidence for a performer looks like?
I think it's part of it. I think the greatest, you know, a lot of people in show business for different reasons, and I think the ones who are in there to give and to share their talents are the ones who really the better ones. I mean, of course, there's a lot who's just doing it for their ego to boost themselves because they've got a low sense of self-worth, so they need to stand out in front of people and show everybody how amazing they are. And that often, you know, that's often the fire that starts it. Yeah. But then after it, that fire can't keep it going because it ends in suicide and you know, breakdowns and people losing the plot. You know, like so many great actors and singers and musicians have done because it was a self-worth problem. Yeah. They thought by this performance, and it doesn't matter how famous you get and how much rich and how much success you have, if that self-worth underneath is not strong, sooner or later the walls will fall down. You've built your castle on sand. And I think so that if you can get to the point where you are doing the performance just out of your love for the performance and your love for the audience and your love of that energy and that exchange of energy and giving them something, you know, then you're really on a strong, rich way as an artist. Yeah.
So I started 20 years ago the wrong way. So
there's no wrong way.
I mean, you know,
this is a self-confidence problem.
The dreaming of fame and probably out of, you know, lack of self-confidence for sure.
Well, yeah, that's normal. The awareness wasn't there. Now the awareness is coming. But anyway, sorry, go on. Yeah.
But and then when I had another go 4 years ago, my motivation was, like you say, it was for the beauty of it, the art of, I just really want to get like a good 5 minutes, a good 15, a good 30, but it took me a while to to come to a point where I trusted myself that I could give, you know, like, so it was, I've known you after 4 years in my second try. So and when I started to be confident with my skills, like, I know I can still improve a lot, but I thought, okay, there's a chance that I might impress you more. But in the beginning, it was a good 2 years of it was, you know, based on hope rather than not trust that I could deliver the goods, if you see what I mean. Like, this knowledge that you can give, you're there to bring your talent. It doesn't come, in my experience, it didn't come straight away.
Yeah, it rarely does.
Okay.
It really does. That comes later, you know.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's all about the ego, a lot of the time, you know.
Was it your beginning?
For me, it was all about the money.
Which is also ego.
Well, no, it wasn't. There was an ego in the beginning, but I don't know. First, because I started as a dancer, I started as breakdance, and I did that out of love, you know.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a dancer and an actor out of love.
Okay.
And then I got a job as a comedian, like a physical comedy mime, in a fun park, and that was really more for the money than for the job. I didn't really like the job. I didn't want it. I wanted to be in one of the shows, or, you know. And then I slowly started to love the comedy and made my own sketches and stuff. But then it was always kind of a means to me becoming a movie star.
Okay.
It was like, it was my job I did on it was my, you know, my waiter job. And I was, rather than, and I didn't like, I couldn't stand waiting for phone calls for castings. So I was rather on the street working as a street performer, making money, than sitting around waiting. And I'm just not a good waiter. Yeah. And so I did that, and that's was really out of money, you know. And then I fell more in love with the craft and more in love with doing it, and realized, I can act and I can do anything I really want. I can make videos, I can make films, I can, out of this comedy stuff, you know. So we're really very, very, you know, it's my Jewish heritage coming through of the wanting to do it just for the money.
I think it's like the upside down version of what happens to every other comic, which is like, when can I finally support myself with comedy? You're like, well, it was the only thing I could support myself with.
It was like, that's it. It's true. It's around the wrong way. And it's the reason why I never did comedy clubs much in the beginning.
Yeah, like because there's not much money.
There's no money. Why would I want to do that? I can make more money in half an hour on the street, you know, than I would in a week in a comedy club. So that
was fascinating. So you were at the fun park as an employee?
I was an employee in the beginning, and I was paid a wage. Okay. But I could earn 5 times what I earned in the fun park in a day on the street. So I quit the fun park to go onto the street.
With the same act?
Same act, yeah. But less, I could earn, you know, it was only $200 a day in the fun park, and I could earn, you know, $1,000 a day on the street.
Oh my God.
If I wanted to. So I went to the street. And then I went back to the fun park, and they said,
"We'd like the director."
Well, no, I bought it for a schnapken.
I fire everybody.
Only 25 million. You call yourself an entertainment director? Forget it. You're out of here. No, I went back there, and they said, you know, we'd like to have you, you know, working in the park again, doing. And I said, yeah, but on the stage. So they go, yeah, on the stage, yeah. And I said, and 5 times the money. And 5 times the money. Okay. Okay. So I went back to the fun park for a while and worked. Like 2 years later, with 5 times the money.
Were you on the street in front of the fun park, like stealing the customers?
Beforehand. Don't go in there, it's not as good. This is the show you want to see.
We give all the money to Rob Spence, no more money for fun park.
In the car park.
That's amazing. So you started as a street performer.
Well, yeah, I started as a, you know.
Fun park performer.
Fun park performer, yeah. Fun park clown, mime kind of performer, yeah.
Okay.
And in that fun park, I learned juggling and magic and acrobatics and dance and stuff, other things. Yeah, and I learned from everybody working in there, and I used that and pulled that and put that in my act on the street.
How did you get that first job that somebody said, "Hey, you're a funny guy. I'd like to pay you to entertain people at the fun park"?
Oh, I did a casting.
Okay.
It was a big casting, and the advertisers at my high school, and I saw it, and I went to my mates, hey, look, let's go do it. Yeah, another guy, yeah, let's go do it. Yeah. 3 guys, we were, yeah, and we all got in. My other mates got in as like pirates in a pirate show, and I wanted to be in the pirate show or the dancing show, but I got in as a mime, you know, and I hated it. I had no idea what I had to learn French, but I wasn't allowed to speak it. So yeah, I hated the idea. I never knew what a mime was before then, or what, you know. They gave me the makeup and the costume and said, go out and make fun of people on the street.
So, and you didn't make it as a pirate. Instead, you were a mime. Was
exactly.
It like the core of your confidence issue?
It was a big confidence issue. Yeah, it was a big confidence issue, and I was afraid to go on the street afterwards and do shows without the white paint. You know, I was afraid that people would take me wrong or not take me, you know, think that I'm just a guy on the street and punch me and stuff like that. So I always wore the white makeup for the first couple of years maybe, and then doing a street show in Lucerne, my future wife came into the picture of my life, and I thought to myself, I do a show with that makeup on, I'm never going to pick up this chick. So I put the makeup aside, and I never wore it since. She was the reason why I stopped wearing makeup on stage. I thought, no, who's going to fall in love with a mime? I'll do this show without the makeup and see how it goes. And it was like, oh, this is easy. And it was a massive confidence boost because, I'd always been hiding behind this mask, this comedy mask, you know.
But I find sometimes mask can relieve the pressure off a bit. Like not real mask, but when, so you know, in one of my obsessions and the obsessions of the guys and girls I do comedy with here in Switzerland, it's like, okay, like the search for the comedic voice, you know, like what's the persona or whatever. And I know that, so a lot of the time I come as Benjamin, which I find is terrifying. Like not always, but it feels a bit naked. Whereas the few moments when I've either dressed in drag or dressed or really exaggerated the French thing. Like, you know, so you've heard me do the French thing, but sometimes
put on a character.
Put on really like the intellectual from the café who despises everything.
Jean-Luc.
Voilà. And I just found those to be so liberating.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. And that's something as well. And I do a sketch, you can get away with more when you put on a costume because it's the character talking, not you. Yeah. You know, and but you know, to come back to the whole concept of masks, you know, I did a whole sketch in my last show. My last show was about self-worth, called Ek Stark, about real strength coming, you know, the strength coming within.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I did a sketch about wearing masks. And I actually put on masks and played a different character. And the basis of it is that we are continually putting on a mask depending who we talk to. If you're talking to some
that's true.
Really, you know, important person, and you put on your important, like, well, you could be your humble mask, or it could be like, you know, I'm just as good as you mask, or it could be like, I know it better than you mask. It can be, you know, or if you're in a situation where you roll up to somewhere and there's like a whole bunch of motorbikers there and you feel like you get beaten up, you better put on your tough mask, you know, because, you know, otherwise you get beaten up if you're not as tough as them, you know. Yeah. So we learn through whoever we talk to put on a mask for that person. And the growth, the self-worth growth, is that you take those masks off and you get rid of them and you only wear the Ben mask or the Rob mask all the time, no matter who you are with. Yeah. You know, it doesn't matter you're with the Queen of England or with a street cleaner or with your boss, whatever, you wear the same mask. And that's, for me, that's a real signification of true inner strength. You know, if you feel so comfortable with who you are as a person, that you no longer have to pretend to this or that person that you're something different that you're not really are all the time. Yeah.
But this is hard to find, not just on stage, also in your.
It's hard to find in life.
In your own life.
It's a massive step to take. I mean, first off, it's a massive step to realize that you actually put masks on, because we go through life not understanding, not thinking about it. Nobody pointed that out to us, you know. And when we point out, say, hey, you put on a mask for different people, just think about it a bit. Which mask you put on with your mother? Which mask you put on with your wife? Which mask you put on with, you know, when you're on stage, or you know, and you start to think about it, and you think, I got a lot of them, you know. And you know, I grew up in a really rough part of Sydney.
Okay.
And I was a very soft, nice, good-natured kid, but it was rough. And if I put that good-natured kid mask on, real me, I got beaten up. So from small on, I had to put on a tough guy mask, even though I wasn't really a tough guy, but I had to put that on to get through in that shitty suburb that I grew up in. My high school. They were just criminals, the kids I was going to school with. And if I was a soft one, I'd get to beat the shit out of. So I learned to do that. And then as I got older, I still was wearing it, but I had to put it off and put another one on. And now I got to put my actor's mask on.
But did you manage to, because when you grow up having to put these masks so much, it almost, there's a risk it becomes part of you in a way, no?
Well, it does.
Yeah.
You know, it's so like, you know.
So how did you manage to?
Well, to be awareness. It's all about awareness.
Because here, for example, in Zug in Switzerland, you blend in very well. You don't you don't look like a criminal from the Sydney hood.
No, I've got rid of that mask.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like and you know, I've got my happy, you know, casual Australian mask that is the real me, my real mask, my real face comes through.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you look at people's faces as they get older. They can get grumpy looking. They can get, you know, they start wearing that emotional mask.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you see some old people, they look lovely.
Yeah.
Because they've got lovely thoughts and they've got lovely things going on inside them, and then they start to wear that on their face. And the people, if they're grumpy and upset, and it just turns into this old grumpy mask. You know, and it's like, if you knew, you know, what's going to happen to your face beforehand, maybe you stop wearing that mask or start to you know, put on something else. Yeah, it all comes back to like that understanding of like, your thoughts become your words become your actions become your identity, you know. And so if you change, you go back and you just change your thoughts, you know, and then, you know, I have different thoughts about this situation or this people or this thing.
Right.
You know? Then you have different words and you have different action, and you'll end up being a different person. It all's linked to that mask in a way, you know.
So here, like, okay, I've consumed a lot of personal development literature over the years, and this is what they all say, like what you just said.
Yeah. Did it help you?
Well, I thought it helped me up until a certain point. Like, I still feel that you don't control all your thoughts, you know, like or maybe I'm wrong, but
well, you can't. It's just there's too many of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they're out of control most of the time.
Yeah. A lot of them, you know, they just spring from your brain.
Yeah.
And so, for example, if you take when I opened for you at Casino Theatre, like, it was a very important moment for me, because it was, first of all, it was just before you, and it was, you know, the name of the venue, maybe not the room where we're in, but, but you know, it's a prestigious venue.
Yeah.
And Andalib's gig in Zug is also quite well known in the expat community. So it felt like a step up, right? And I had my own dressing room. I mean, that must
You're a big guy. You should have your own dressing more often, I think.
What do you mean? No, I would love to have my own dressing room all the time. But anyway, and of course I was nervous before, but I also think that I reached a point where I was like, okay, of course nothing is guaranteed in comedy, but I feel that I can do this. You know, and that thought, it was not like just because I was repeating myself, but it was more like the 4 years of experience that, you know, was hopefully not culminating, was more like a checkpoint on the way. That allowed me to have these thoughts. You know what I mean? And I just find it, some of the confidence and confident thoughts also need to be grounded in some experience.
Yeah, it needs time to grow. It's, and that's something also I really, I've over my career, because the thing is when you're in a career as a comedian, it's such a tough job,
What makes it tough?
Well, you've got to constantly convince people to like you, not just like every second, If people don't like you, they don't come to see your shows. So, even if you're an arsehole on stage, they've got to like the fact you're an arsehole.
Yeah.
You can be the biggest dick, but people got to like that dick, And so I'm, you're fighting constantly to be funny in every moment you're on stage, and you've got to win every laugh, and then you've got to continually make new shows, and you've got to work. There's always new people coming up. Yeah. There's always a TV show you've got to try and get onto. You've got to try and get there. You've got to do social media. You've got all this different. It's a tough job, and there are years where you don't make enough money and you go broke, and then there are years where it goes good and you think everything's going great, and then the next year comes fucking COVID-19, and all of a sudden now you're broke and you don't have any jobs, and then you have a good year, and it just is so up and down. It's such an emotional experience. You're putting yourself out there the whole time. You're the product. It's not like you're selling a camera. Rob Spence is the product, and Rob Spence has to be clean and shiny and good and great and fantastic every time. And if you have a show, and the audience is just shitty, or the situation is shitty, you take it personally that you didn't fulfill your obligations this night. It's a wrong thought. You have to get over that in time. But it is this constant, fight with your self-worth. If you want to learn to have like amazing self-worth, become a stand-up comedian, because it is a training.
It will kill it forever.
Exactly. But it's just like you're reflecting the whole time on yourself, and this is tough. That's to be continually reflecting on yourself and observing yourself and trying to grow as a human being, and and so you're really in a situation in a ground where you work on something and then you get out of the way. For me personally, I know, because I'm always trying to grow as best I can to get in a better situation. I just say, okay, I've got on top of that. Oh, and then I think that's good. And then it's the next level. I have to work on that now. And then I get out of the way, and then it's the next level. It's that, At the moment, like the last thing I was really working was the self-worth of the last show. But at the moment, what I'm seeing is like I've got a problem with self-pity, like when things aren't working at the moment, like, and you start to feel sorry for yourself, and you self-pity that they're making lots of money doing that, and I'm not making any money, and there's all the government is not giving them money, but it's not giving me money, and you get into this whole self.
Right.
So there's a self-pity thing that I'm having. Oh, look at that! That's still a problem there. Yeah. So I can work on that and get that out of the way. It's giving me an opportunity at the moment to shine my diamond in a diamond of self-worth. Wow. And that happens continually. I find if you start to observe it and you give a consciousness on it.
Yeah. And that's being a comedian that allows you to have that reflection, because a lot of people spiral into self-pity, but they don't even realize it. They're right in there and thinking that, because self-pity also makes sense logically.
It makes great sense, and it's great to go into there and and then you get all these people go and it's fun, but it doesn't do you any good. It's shit. It's shit.
If you listen to this on the podcast app, you have to watch it's going to be on YouTube as well. You have to watch Rob's faces as he just did that. Self-pity summarized.
Exactly.
It's true. Like you find people who join in on the concert of your self-pity.
They love it. Everyone wants to join in because everybody knows what it's like to be in that situation, to have pain of some sort. And they go, "Oh, you poor thing," and they all want to help you and stuff. But helping somebody is not like, you know, love and pink and roses and stuff. Loving somebody is telling them the truth. Like, stop being a fucking wuss, you know, pick yourself up, do something, change your direction, try something new, fight back, you know, don't lie on the ground in a ball and hide under your bed. Get up and try something new and reflect and work and make new contacts and try and find the silver lining in this shit that we're going through. And I find this is a bit of a problem, that society become more and more wimps, and we're all like, we want, you know, help here and help there, but we have to stand up and fight for, you know, get through.
To get through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did your episodes of so at the moment you're dealing with self-pity?
Well, yeah. I like openly in the on the media, in the media, and I'm getting over it. And
but what about like you know, you've had moments also of self-worth crisis.
Self-hate, the whole thing.
And that were completely was it related to your success or not? Or you could be at the peak of your success and feel like a...
Oh, no, you never have them at the peak of your success.
No? Okay.
The peak is... Yeah, no, that's stupid. You gotta
that's
wait.
Just inefficient.
It's just like, no, you have to wait till it's really has a very strong effect on you. You can really use it to, like, you know, get a lot of pain and tears going.
You have it when, so one in these low years, for example, where you're saying,
when the what?
You said, you know, some years you do great and then some years you go broke, or is this when the self-confidence kind of hits?
Yeah, I had a horrible year in around 2002. I just done Rob's Comedy Club, 44 half-hour shows.
Yeah.
I got into the Wochen show in Germany, the biggest TV show in Germany, and there was like 20 episodes in that, and I thought my career was going through the roof. And,
right.
you know, I'd worked very hard. I was 30 at the time. I had 2 kids at home, and I'd given a lot of effort, and I'd made a couple of shows, and I was a hard-working comedian, and all of a sudden the card house just started falling down. The TV show, I stopped it because it was too much pain, too much work for what I was earning. I couldn't afford to keep doing it at that pace. Yeah. We didn't have money for writers and stuff like that. But then I got into shows in Germany. I got like pilots for different shows and TV commercials, and I had a whole bunch of things, and one after another, these all went down the drain. For like 2 years, everything I touched to shit, and I just went like from having super career and things were going great, so all of a sudden now I'm broke again, and no jobs and no new show and no TV show and nobody interested in me, and it just threw me into a depression. And
how did you get through it?
I hid under the bed for 2 weeks.
For real?
No, yeah, I really went into really depression for like 2 weeks, where I really just didn't get out of bed much and stuff. And then I just like dragged my ass out of bed. I made a phone call to a TV producer in Germany, made a meeting to go and have a meeting with them. I hopped on the train and I fell asleep in a depression in Basel, and I woke up around Frankfurt, and it was like a fog had just lifted off me. It was this craziest thing, and I just felt normal again. I went to the meeting, didn't get anything out of it, but the fog had lifted. I came home and just got to work, and I said, okay, I'm going to go on tour again with a theatre show. At that time, I'd fired my manager, and I hired 20 theatres. I did all of the publicity myself. I got sponsors for radio, for TV, for press, and I just did it, and I pulled myself and my family out of the hole again. You know, we had money again, and then I had another opportunity to go to Australia for a big show in Australia, which went bankrupt and went down the drain. And then I went into another. I had another whole. Then I got offered to work for the producers of Mr. Bean to make the next sort of Mr. Bean show in England. I went to England, did that, started that. That went down the drain. I came home.
Was Richard Curtis still involved with?
No, it wasn't Richard Curtis. It was the producers. It was the producers called Tiger Aspect. I was working with Tiger Aspect and Just for Laughs, Juste pour rire for Montreal.
Yeah.
The 2 biggest comedy TV producers, and they backed me. And then all of a sudden, the BBC were going to back this project. They said, no, it doesn't suit us, and they pulled the plug on it.
Okay.
And then I went into another kind of light depression
Okay.
for another year, and then I pulled myself out again and got through.
To pull yourself out, a ride on the Swiss train. That's why they're so proud of their train system. It cures depression. Well, I mean, time.
The thing is, I went into self-pity. I went into self-pity, and seems to be a recurring pattern that I've still not completely overcome. Most of it, but like I don't do that anymore. Like that went into self-pity and tumbled down. And that the second time it happened, like the big one where it messed up with the BBC and all that sort of stuff, I just sort of stuck around and painted for a year. I didn't really give any effort to try and do shows or anything. And then I said, okay, now I'm in debt badly. I better pull my finger out, and I pushed again.
Yeah.
And that was 10, 11 years ago, and I haven't stopped pushing since. And I've had ups and downs. I've had many ups and downs, like at the moment with this whole Corona thing, but it hasn't hurt me this time because I've learnt so much from the past, and I've learnt that going down and the self-pity doesn't bring anything, that you just have to get up, wipe yourself off, and keep fighting and keep going, keep the positivity, keep the positive thoughts, because, get the positive thoughts, the positive actions, the positive movement forward, that's so important.
Self-pity is tricky because sometimes you feel genuinely hurt by something, the circumstances, the situation.
You do.
And that hurt is legitimate. But it's hard to then, from that need to feel, like I'm hurting, it's real, to spiral down into this. I mean, it can be super destructive.
Yeah. No, it's a very horrible downward spiral, and it's very useless, really, to get to do it. Yeah. It's better to observe yourself and see what you're doing and get out of it. But I only managed to do this because of like different self-help things that I've done over the years in order to learn more about myself, to understand it.
Overcome it.
Yeah. Okay. One good guy is Joe Dispenza. He does some really great videos on understanding the way your brain thinks.
Joe Dispenza. Okay.
He's an American guy. Dispenza is the Latin version of my name, Spence. Dispenza. So Joe Dispenza, he does some amazing work. Watch some videos on him. Yeah, he amazing work on seeing how your brain works and what causes you to fall into these patterns. Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, interesting.
Cool. So Rob, we've talked for quite some time already.
Hours. I'm sure that we've more than enough.
Yes. I just have one last question.
Go ahead, shoot.
Anything you want to say to the... Actually, I was going to ask for a comedian, the scared and fearing comedian, but actually anybody who's scared and fearing to, to get into a direction that they really want to. Any word of wisdom for these people?
Yeah, I think life is way too short not to follow your heart. If your heart bleeds to do something, to try something, then, just think, shit, if I don't do it now, am I ever going to do it? I heard a story of like an old man who was 90 years old and he was learning Russian. And someone said, why are you learning Russian with 90 years old? He says, well, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. And it's this thing, it's like, how long do you want to wait, to do it?
Yeah.
Just like pull yourself up, like take the trust in yourself, trust in the universe, trust that this life is so short and this world is so great and there's so many possibilities and there's so much, opportunity there.
Yeah.
And there are people there to help you. There's courses online, just take the step and then keep walking. Know that stream is going to be strong, but just swim harder and prepare yourself to swim. Get yourself ready, get yourself psychologically ready, get yourself physically ready, do sport, eat well, look after yourself so that when you get into that stream that you can swim, and trust and know that magic will happen. When you go in the right direction, magic will happen. That's
a nice conclusion. Magic will happen. Thank you so much, Rob.
You're welcome.
See you next time.
See you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Superpower of Confidence podcast. If you want to find out more about Rob Spence and what he's up to, visit the website www.robspence.ch or follow him on social media. If you want to find out more about me, subscribe to my newsletter, book me as a speaker or comedian, visit www.bendelahaye.com. All the links will be in the show notes. If you have enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the podcast or subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it, or leave a review on iTunes. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time. Until then, take care.